Yo, what's up, new fam? New Productions here. I just want to welcome y'all to this whatever this series is going to become. Right now, I'm doing a lot of live streams for both my DJ and my programming. So, what I do on SoundSwitch. So this first video that you've clicked on is primarily a kind of a beginner tutorial to kind of the layout of SoundSwitch. So if you already are aware of how SoundSwitch works, you get how to program, you probably don't need to watch this video, to be honest. It's pretty extensive. I go into some probably more detail than what I need to, primarily because I'm just filling time in the live stream and because I enjoy it and it's fun. So that's where a lot of that information comes from. So yeah, this first video, again, just a beginner layout into the SoundSwitch software and how to use it a little bit. So hopefully y'all enjoy. The second video, which kind of this video ends kind of abruptly, and then the second video picks up immediately after that, and that's the edited version of the scripted track that I then scripted in that live stream. So if you're curious about how all that works, feel free to watch that video, but I'll let you all watch this one first. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get this thing started. I'm guessing most of the people that want to watch this are going to watch this after I'm done streaming here. So chances are it's just going to be me on a live stream, maybe with a few people kind of going in and out. But we'll just kind of take things as they go. This is going to be a SoundSwitch tutorial / light programming tutorial / just what I do as New Productions. So if we have people show up, then we can hang out. If not, that's totally cool too. The people that want to watch this can watch this afterwards. So should be a good time. But yeah, good old SoundSwitch here. Let me change my views. If you are watching this in post after I'm done streaming, chances are you're really interested in SoundSwitch. You're wondering what it can do. As I was when I was first got into programming, this was a lifesaver for me. One, because I don't do things halfway, and because it's flipping cool when you can make lights do awesome things with your music. So today we're going to be doing some programming with SoundSwitch. But if you're brand new, I'll just do a quick little thingy doodah. What do you call that? Little tutorial over what is each part of this layout. So this is your venue tab. I use a big dome, and you can have multiple projects. So you can have multiple projects with different venues in them. And then the goal with venues is for all of your fixtures to be able to be patched in to an individual venue, and then those venues hopefully will be able to coordinate with one another. I don't know if I said that right at all. It's kind of confusing. I've just stuck with a single venue and just kind of programmed on that one venue. I do have another project file that has like 10 tabs, but it gets kind of confusing. So I'm pretty happy with the setup that I have now, which is called the new dome. And then I have converted that new dome setup into this studio setup right here, and then I can kind of go through the different fixtures that I have here and there. But this tutorial is over SoundSwitch, not necessarily my setup. But this studio setup mirrors exactly what I do during live performances with my big dome. So back to SoundSwitch here. So that's venues. You have your music. I'm going to be going into my crates, my Serato crates here. A little bit later on, this is your effect tab. And I apologize, you probably can't actually read this at all in the actual stream. My computer can't keep up with the 1080 live stream straight to YouTube. So you get it in 720 for now. So I'll try to use my mouse a lot and kind of explain what I'm doing. And then positions, these get super, super complicated whenever we get into lasers, because that's kind of how you control lasers, via positions and attribute cues. You don't actually use any dimming effects within the actual programmer itself. It's all within the positions and again attribute cues, and it can get real complicated. So I'll show that later on. And then attribute cues, again, this is where lasers shine. This is also where you can set like individual scenes, different attributes. Also, the big thing that I believe they kind of designed attribute cues for was mostly like controlling gobos, or things that kind of move in black, if you're familiar with like Grand MA, that kind of style. And I have 4 moving heads that have gobos, and everything else does not. So I really don't use attribute cues a lot, except when it comes to lasers. Literally all of these are laser stuff, as well as like smoke machines and haze, if I decide to do that, bubbles, that kind of stuff. So that's here. And then you obviously have your actual programmer right here, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of it all right here, where all the magic happens. But let's just dive right into this, because we can. So obviously we're gonna start where I want that heavy stuff. I'm kind of gonna do a more complicated song today. That way you can kind of see just how time consuming this can be if you're doing it to like perfection, which is kind of how I like to program. Once it's programmed, it's programmed. It can kind of get real difficult moving it to other files and whatnot, and sometimes it disappears, which isn't great. But yeah, let's which song was I gonna do? It was one of the Subtronics songs, Scream Saver. Here we go. So you'll notice there's obviously your track names here, and then you also have your actual like it's like a SoundSwitch logo. It's right here. And if you have a program song, they will show up here. So if I go into one of my fully programmed sets here, like this was this last Halloween, this is kind of what I was talking about. So all of these are programmed. These are not. They were at one point, but via the transfer of files and me moving stuff around, those don't exist anymore, which isn't fantastic, and I'm a little not happy about, especially with this Limitless. It's proven to be very, very, it's caused a lot of problems, especially on my last live event. But that's besides the point. Let me go back to Screensaver. So yeah, we're going to load that one in here. And then to do just a quick overview of all of this. So these are all different groups that I have, right? Let me bring all these folders back together. So I actually don't have a ton of fixtures in this venue. It's pretty simplistic. This is the DMX patching that I have, as you can see. Only one universe. There's not a lot going on. You can use 2 universes with the little expansion thingy. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. But I have never ever used more than one universe, like, or had the need to. Sometimes I'll separate it if I think that things are going to get kind of complicated. I don't know if it actually does anything, but it's just peace of mind, I guess. I can kind of identify what an issue is in DMX world. So that is having to do with this. This is where you set your groups. So like my arch is group 1. This is kind of the washes that go on each individual leg of the dome. That's where these end up. So I have 3 legs on one side, 3 legs on the other, which is really inconvenient for what I do, which is 4 on the floor all the time in the DJ world. So I like to pair things in 4, but it just doesn't work in this situation. So it's 3 and 3. So I used to call it just A1 for my arches. It was A1, A2, A3, A4, and then we'd have BBB, which is on the left side, and then the C, which is on the right side. I always program from a stance of if I'm looking at the performance. So if I'm an audience member, I can't remember, is that called like stage? I don't know. I'm not going to try to figure that out right now. But these are all my washes. And then my spots, those are going to be my moving heads that for this setup that I have now are going to be up on the, on the ceiling or on my cloud, bass cloud or bass trap cloud. And then my prisms, which are going to be behind me. I keep hitting this arm. Yeah, those will be right behind me. And then I do have my fog machines patched in. If for some reason I would like to manually or program those, I can. 95% of the time, I'm just pushing a button, to be honest. And then I have my 2 lasers, the Scorpion Dual RGB. I've got 2 of those behind me here that you'll see momentarily. Awesome lasers. I think it's probably the best budget, like non-variant required DMX controlled laser that you can get. And again, you'll see a little bit what you can do with those. If anybody has any other suggestion, feel free to put it in the comments. But that's the best that I've been able to find because I can't spend $1,500 on a single laser. It's just not practical with my my budget. And then I do have my haze programmed in. And a lot of this is also, so in order to control something manually, even via like a MIDI control, it's going to be up here, or like static looks, they have to be patched in, obviously, for it to know that it's there. So that is the primary reason why I like have the hazers patched in if I want to manually control it with my Akai MPC. I don't know how you say it, Akai. Sure, whatever. And then obviously your smoke here. So if I want to smoke, we can actually, speaking of that, I'm going to go ahead and turn on my hazer so we can get the overview. So this MIDI comes into good account here. Let me pull all my group intensities down, and again, my groups are what you are assigning in that DMX patching. And so these are everything blue is mapped to my MPC, which is nice. That way I don't have to manually go in and do all this. These are instantaneous colors, so I can hit it and it's just going to be red. But it's a hit and hold or a temp button. Again, if you're familiar with MA2 and MA3. Auto loops. So these are pre-programmed little loops that automatically load into any track that is not scripted, like in Serato. This is what I run, I would say, 80 to 90% of the time during my live stream sets, because I actually do DJ on the fly. And so it's impossible to have that number of perfectly programmed songs. So what you see is typically off of this bank. And again, all of those are mapped to my MPC Mini there. So I press things as I go. And there's a lot of different ways you can set that up. But yeah. Then you have your static looks. These are like perfectly like manual things. So if I go into like my white, that's going to be like you select your arch or all of your washes here. You would select those, check them, put them in their color. My white is kind of my white scene is my base kind of for everything. It's kind of how I troubleshoot. So if I were to hit that, everything just went into the positions that it was designed on here. So dance floor center is how I have it set on here, and I can change that if I want to. But yeah, all of my moving heads just moved to dance floor center. The reason why nothing is on is because of my my faders here. So if I crank these up, and let me go ahead and give you the studio version here. If I crank these up, actually, I'm not quite sure if I can remember off the top of my head what these are actually assigned to. But group 1 is going to be the back here. If you see me push it up, gets real bright real fast. During a live stream set, I don't usually keep them above like this 25% because it does, I mean, it washes out everything, as you can see. So we usually keep those pretty low. Group 2 should be my overhead washes here. Yo, buddy, I got 6 of those. That would be, in a practical sense, that's going to be the legs of the dome. So as they chase around me, that's what those are. Group 3 is my spots, my top spots, or my moving heads there. And again, those are in the center floor, or dance floor center position. And once I get the haze rolling, you'll be able to see those a little bit better. Let me see. Yeah, it's warmed up. Get some haze rolling. Booyah. Boom, boom, boom. That's how we do it. Sick. So while that's going, and you can kind of see those beams. People always ask, like, well, what's the big deal about haze? Well, this is a perfect representation of what haze actually does. You can see the beams, and it's actually kind of cool, you know? Yeah, so those are my my top spots there. You can do a lot with those. And in my actual dome setup, I'll actually put them sideways, kind of like the way my prisms are set up now. So that way I can kind of have an endless circle type movement. If you can, oh, man, dog in the throat. If you can imagine them sideways, they're turning, you know, clockwise and counterclockwise, and you can do a lot with them. Right now they're on the ceiling, so they're obviously facing down. There's probably enough haze for now. Boom. All right. And then next is my last group, which would be my prisms, which are one of my favorite fixtures because they're awesome. I love that. These also have a prism rotate effect. Man, you cannot see me at all, and I love it. Yeah, so those are super cool. Especially when you can get the prism rotating. It's really cool effect. And I use those a bunch because, again, they're super cool. So the lasers are on an on and off only function, which stinks. Because they don't have a dimmer channel, they're controlled by the color. So it's kind of odd. So if you know anything about DMX World, typically you have a dimmer channel, and then you have a RGB channel to for most basic things, or fixtures. So a typical fixture would have 4 channels. So like these washes that I have, these bad boys, which are probably gonna be super washed out now. Boom! You can see how bright those things can get, especially if they're at a full. Those are at so it's master channel, so master dimmer, and then red, green, blue, and then obviously you have like kind of strobe channels and whatnot. So that's how those are controlled. Super cool. Where the heck was I going with that? Yeah, I cannot remember. We're gonna get back on track here, though. The lasers, of course, lasers. But those do not have that. They're controlled by the actual color, and SoundSwitch is a very master dimmer based program. So like each one of these is a master channel. So if I were to say create a, so it's called a intensity override here, and then I pull that up, you'll see here that nothing happens with the lights, right? And you can see that I have pulled these up. Let me go ahead and play a little bit of this. So you'll see that the master dimmer is up, but there's no color assigned to it. So if I were to put an actual color in, apply a color, we'll say red. That's kind of an off red. Here's a pure red. There we go. And then I go back to it. The reason why it didn't is because these faders are down. If I pull, hold on, so this is where troubleshooting can get really fun, because if you forget to turn off a static effect, or static look, it's gonna mess you up like nobody's business. And there you just saw the reds come on. But it's only the right side here, because, of course, that's the only thing that is programmed in. So if I want to do the same thing, you put a intensity override here. Boom! Guess what? Nothing happens, see? So, apply a color. There, now we have red. Super, super bright, obviously. Washes out literally everything. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Sick. Alright, so that must be like a glitch or something. It literally makes everything... I think, yeah, it turns everything red so that I can... that's kind of a cool feature. That must have been in the update that I didn't realize. So if you... you can actually view the color prior to it being active, so prior to applying it, which is kind of neat. So if I wanted to change kind of the actual shade of that color, I can do that, which is, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's neat. I didn't know you could do that. You learn something new every single day. But we'll go ahead and cancel that. And let me undo everything we just did. So yeah, that's a basic overview of how this software individually works. So let's get into this track.